Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. I am Joe, and with me today is
Jamie,
Jack,
and Data.
That's right, and we're here talking about Mistborn, the Hero of Ages. This week we read chapters 62, 63, 64, 65, and 66. In these chapters, Sazed loses all hope, and then it's not until a Khandra buddy of ours keeps going, I'm doing this, that Sazed wises up and finds some hope. And then Vin outsmarts Ruin and by extension Marsh in some sweet tactical brain moves with Yomen. But when Marsh does show up, he basically screws that up with Yomen since Yomen's such a zealot. And then we got Spook, who gets a message from something somewhere in some kind of dream, and he's just got to get it to his buddies. And then we're back with Elend and Ham, and they decide not to attack, much to Vin's happiness. And but then Marsh starts the fight anyway, and Ruin starts taking over the Koloss, which is no bueno. So then our Vin and Yomen partnership finally kicks in, and we have a little bit of hope. And then Sazed rides a weird horse pig Khandra thing all the way to the pits of Hathsin, where we find out is the center of the Khandra homeland. So that's where we are this week. Lots of exciting stuff. Lots of reveals this week. So hold on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
As the towers of steel and stone crumble to dust, the foundations of our hope begin to rust. Choking fear, screaming sound as a reaper comes to ground. You turn to face it down because you must. And when the world starts to burn at the point of no return, keep a hold of your conviction, tear out the affliction before the world turns black. Stand up and take it back.
So yeah, lots of stuff happening this week, and I kind of tried to drop a little hint at the end of last time where I'm like, there's something about the Lord Ruler's religion that we might be forgetting, and I was, of course, talking about the Inquisitors and their important role in the religion and how a guy like Yomen might react to one of them showing up, which is what we get in this chapter. So what did you guys think of these 5 chapters?
Man, some cool stuff. Finding out, I think the coolest reveal for me was finding out, which, we'd predicted wrong just like they had in the past, but we really should have realized the same thing Sazed didn't realize about the first Terracemen that were his buddies. It's like, well, no, he's not going to make them nobles. They have Ferrochemy.
Yep.
So the fact that they're the first generation, that kind of blew my mind on that one. I was super surprised, didn't think of that at all. So that was probably the coolest reveal for me. Other than that, lots of good little tidbits here. I'm surprised Vin, she's picking up on a lot of stuff. I'm surprised she still hasn't picked up that the earring thing is why she's seeing Ruin, but whatever, to each her own. She doesn't really know about hemalurgy. And I feel like we know so much about hemalurgy now because the epigraph said it's like confusing to us that the characters don't pick up on what's going on. So it's just like I keep waiting for it to kind of click, but it's not clicking because they don't know enough about hemalurgy. Although I feel like Marsh and Ruin do a good job of explaining that in this text here. So so lots of fun stuff. Obviously, I think we're ending at like 79% at the end of these chapters, so we're getting really close to the stuff starting to unravel. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, all these chapters had, except for the Spook one, which isn't bad. It's more of a mystery. But besides the Spook chapter, I think all these were really solid, good kind of moving the plot chapters. So hopefully we're to that point in the book.
Yeah, we definitely had some major changes to like Vin and Yeoman's relationship even. But then, things are moving. There's a giant Koloss army about to attack almost all our main characters. So,
Yeah, I really enjoyed these. I am enjoying that the pace has picked up a little bit. I really liked in one of the last book, I think it was, when we were sort of getting the quick snapshots of what was happening with each group, and we're all at the sort of same time now. So you're really starting to get that sense of urgency that, oh my God, it's all it's all falling apart and we really don't have a lot of time, so we're going to get the answers pretty quickly. So I really love this part of the book because you do start getting that information and answers. The bit about the first generation makes so much sense now that someone's pointed it out. I think I never really thought that the packmen that were with Alendi, I had never really put together that of course they would have been ferrochemists. Like, that actually just makes sense. I just assumed they were terroristmen that weren't ferrochemists. I don't know why, but that's actually really cool because, yeah, you wouldn't make them allomancers. Why would you make them stronger than you? It makes zero sense. And then I think it was in the epigraph where it's like, oh, Alendi was a misting. And I was like, hang on, but didn't they only discover everything once they got to the well? Like, how could he already be a misting? And then it unraveled really quickly. And I was like, oh, I love it. That's so good. So I'm really excited that Say's just found something now to, just as he's hit rock bottom, bring him back up and finally get some of those answers. I was a bit worried that Tensoon was going to leave and they would never have that conversation. So that's good. I was a bit annoyed that Spook is now woken up and ready to have a conversation with Sage, and Sage is in fact not there. Oh, great. But, Spook seems to be fairly switched on, which I think is really good. And it'll be interesting to see, I guess, what Quellion's like as well. So I'm kind of happy that they've had some sort of happy ending up there at the moment, as happy as it can be with raining ash and earth destruction. Vin, I'm super pleased that she's managed to get a bit of metal back, and it was very clever the way she handled the situation with Yomen and playing Ruin, and Marsh is just terrifying. I thought it was a bit naive of her to think she could kill Marsh like that, but that's fine. I was like, there's no way Marsh is dead. And then he obviously wasn't. So yeah, and then the Koloss as well, like Ruin being able to ultimately take power back of the Koloss makes so much sense. But again, I just didn't really see it coming. But yeah, I really enjoyed pretty much everything in these chapters this week.
Yeah, the Koloss part is interesting because I think previously when we got the epigraph that was like Ruin could control whole Koloss armies. I don't remember if it was Dak or Joe was like, well, wait, can he? Because he's not doing it. He seems to have Inquisitors doing it for him. And I was like, yeah, I guess maybe he can't, huh? Maybe he just controls the Inquisitors and they do it. I don't know. And now we find out he's just slow playing everybody. Yep. Clever.
I mean, why reveal your whole hand? That's
right?
That makes sense.
Well played, clerks.
These are good chapters. They have raised a few questions for me as we go, namely the fact that the epigraphs bring up Ruin was constantly trying to spike Yomen. I was like, but if he reveres the Inquisitors this much, it shouldn't have really been that difficult. Inquisitor could have just landed on the doorstep and Yomen was like, oh yeah, come on in, let's talk.
Yeah,
oh, well.
It's true.
But no, a lot of action in this stuff. Things are really starting to move, which is cool. Jamie will tell you, as I was reading and I got to the bit where it turned out the pits were the entrance to the Kandra homeland. And I just went, oh, god damn it. Because I know we made a joke about that several episodes ago. And I was like, why is it every time we joke about stuff, this is fucking Zane's dog all over again? It turns out to be true.
It's true.
But yeah, good to see Marsh again. And his appearance really has actually strengthened Yeoman's alliance truce with Vin. So that was kind of cool. I did like how it just sort of ended to Vin. It's like, I need to get this guy on my side. Fuck it, I'm just going to tell him all of the truth. And that seemed to be what got her over the line. So I'm like, all right, that was pretty cool. The one thing I didn't like about these chapters was the fact that after everything, Beldry really does seem to be in love with Spook.
It's true.
Yeah.
Again, I was just going to kind of skate over that, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't hate Spook. I don't particularly like him, but after the creepifying actions that he took, it's like, really? We're going to go with this romance? Okay, sure.
Well, and it's funny because there was actually, I couldn't read it at the time because I didn't want to reveal anything about Beldry's, because we were theorizing, what's her real motives or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was a long annotation where Brandon's like, so Beldry kind of is interested in Spook because he's got this, when he sees her, he's got this air of mysteriousness, and he really is the one who stands up to her brother, and he saved a little kid, and he's got this strength and this confidence that and this was before they had their conversation in the, before they captured her and they had the conversation and everything. So it was like, she really is kind of attracted to him and like intrigued by him, but we don't really see much of that because she's also loyal to her brother and stuff. So she's like, get out of here or I'm going to scream. But anyway, so I mean, yeah, she has some motivation we didn't see, but this kind of goes along with what somebody emailed us and said. It's like they really don't like this relationship because she doesn't have much character and we never really see much development of this love story, quote unquote.
I feel like that explanation is somewhat flawed, though. Like, imagine if you saw someone from a distance and was like, oh, this person is amazing. Like, I developed a little crush on them. And then they came up to you and went, I know why you're sad. And I'm going to kill your brother. And blah, blah, blah. You know what? That would kind of kill it for me.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meh.
Now anytime anyone says I know why you're sad, I just think of us talking about Norden walking up to Ellen. I know why you're sad. Your wife's in prison. It's like, yeah, dude, everybody knows that.
I thought you meant just in real life, every time anyone says that, I'm like, who says that to you? Like, do people say that to you a lot?
No, they look at me all the time. They're like, I know why you're sad. Be like, you don't know my life. Come on, man.
Is that customers at your work? It's like, I know why you're sad. I'm like, this is not a good business conversation.
Yeah. People don't ask me why I'm sad because that's a weird thing to ask somebody or say to somebody. I mean.
Also, the fact that you bring up Norden and specifically mention his wife, like him mentioning to Ellen, like, yeah, you're sad because your wife is in prison. It's like, Norden, are you coming on to me?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not hearing a no.
Norden likes books. Ellen likes books. Like, let's, see what
everybody
happens.
they both like thick books. I mean, it's clear what needs to happen.
Oh gosh. Okay. I guess let's get into these chapters.
I want a fanfic of Norden and Ellen's relationship, please.
I bet there's one out there.
It's got to exist
by next week.
And half our listeners go, here's what I prepared earlier.
I have so much Norden fan fiction. Here's Norden and Zane. Here's Norden and Ellen.
Yeah, let's be fair. It's slash fiction.
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh. No. Anyway, we're going into chapters. So yes, we get the first epigraph is I suspect that Alendi was a misting, a seeker, but allomancy was much rarer in those days, and the allomancers alive today are all descendant from the few people who ate preservation's beads of power.
Yeah, so I guess and this was just me making that prediction and it not panning out. I had just always assumed that he was, like, he had all the powers, that Alendi was Mistborn. And I had even gone so far as to say maybe he was, like, the first one, and that's why everybody said he was so powerful, and that he had to be the hero and stuff. But yeah, to think that he might have just been a seeker, I mean, it makes sense contextually, and there's really no reason for us to believe that he had any of the other powers since he did not become the Lord Ruler. But yeah, so I thought that was, I'm man enough to admit, hey, I made a prediction. It was wrong.
Yeah, there's actually an interesting little annotation about this where he says, also as a note, Alendi was an allomancer, as the epigraphs note. He had to be. He heard the pulsing at the Well of Ascension when no one else could. Ah, you might say, but I thought you said allomancy didn't exist before those beads. Well, that isn't 100% true. The legends say that allomancy came with the deepness. Alendi was one of the very first allomancers, and he gained his powers as the mists began to cover the world. That is important, winky face.
So he didn't get his power from a little bead?
No, he did not.
Huh.
So I feel like this plays into a different theory I had. It's basically like the mist is, like, preservation, it uses the mist, or maybe since we've now found out that the powers can be independent of the mind or body or whatever, that the mist is like the original ones truly were, I guess, Mistborn, right? Something in the mist snaps them, changes them, makes them into mistings / Mistborn.
Yeah, it creates them somehow. That would fit with what we just read. That's true. Yeah.
I'm going to expand on that and say that'd be the people who came down with the mist sickness.
Oh.
Oh wait,
Yeah.
hang on. No,
Well-
no. The nobility blood doesn't get mystic, so that's not going to work because they're the
That's
ones
true.
who have to send the power. So disregard.
Well, no. See, I don't think you should disregard it, Dak, because they're saying that that's separate from the beads, right? So if the nobility all have the heritage line of the bead power, maybe they cannot get
Yeah.
unless they consume a bead, because we know that the Lord Ruler, based on the epigraphs, the Lord Ruler changed the biochemistry of Ska and nobility.
Yeah.
He probably, if Rashek was alive during all that time long ago, he probably knew that mist could give power. And so maybe that's not something that can happen anymore because he changed the biochemistry of people.
That's assuming that anyone understood. Like, if Allomancers first showed up when the deepness showed up, you'd have
Right.
to eat some metal and then figure out that you had the power from metal, which would be.
I'm
a heck of a
assuming
jump.
Ruin gave the Lord Ruler that knowledge.
Oh yeah, that's true. He got a lot of
Whoever
knowledge when he ascended.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So when he ascended, but yeah, like that's still not, I don't think you should throw that out completely, because maybe all those people that got sick, although I don't know why it's such a specific number. That's the part that I still don't get.
Yeah. Why is preservation an arithmetic nerd?
Right. What's he trying to tell us?
Yep. Okay. Well, that's a good question. Yep. And I'm going to point back. Remember the conversation that Ellen had with preservation, and that might help slightly.
He said metal. He pointed at metal.
Wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Yes.
Yep. What a guy. Okay.
I'm passing the savings on to you.
So I like that Say's first thought in this chapter is he's like, well, yeah, that proves that Spook doesn't have pewter, at least, because he's not healing as fast as someone with pewter.
Wrong.
At least my world still makes sense. Yay.
Oh, saved. If only Spook had woken up a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah, Jamie mentioned that earlier. It's just so sad that like Spook finally wakes up and is willing to talk, and Say's just no longer there, and nobody else cares. Like Breeze and Beldry and stuff, like, no, it's fine. Just rest. It's all good.
Probably startled that he's awake, given the injuries he sustained. It's like, man, you woke up, and then was a line from "Thank you for smoking." It's like poor use of inflection. Is she implying that I somehow might not have?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Breeze does say he is awake. Like the emphasis was on the is.
Yeah, I noticed that too. He's like, so were they arguing about whether or not he was waking up? I don't know. Maybe he was talking in his sleep.
It's like he's awake. I don't believe you.
But we find out that Breeze is the ruler, I guess, in Urto, but Quellion is still, he has authority, so.
Yeah, sure, why not?
And Beldry's sitting next to Spook's bedside, all worried about him. He's not just a man, she says. He's something special.
Yeah.
Maybe when he woke up, maybe she goes, I know why you're in pain.
Yeah, when she said he's something special, that gave me like mom vibes, like he's my special boy.
Ew.
Ew.
Yeah, it's not good.
It takes this really creepy relationship just that little bit creepier.
See, that's all we really need to find out that Beldry is also creepy, so they fit together.
Sure. Creep
Okay.
for creep.
And then Sayst is getting through the very last of his religions, and as I think everyone knew was going to happen, none of them are helping him. He can't find any of them that feels like they're completely true or whatever.
Yeah, it seems uber convenient that he comes to this realization as a hope lifeline comes to his aid.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if he had not gotten through all his religions, he may not have been as interested to hear, to overhear in what he overheard. But because he did,
I don't know.
he's like, oh.
I feel like finding out that there is one more religion he doesn't know about, even if he's only gotten through half his religions, he'd be like, wait, I need to get that one too, so that I can make sure. Also,
I mean,
it's
I guess,
the one
but-
they've been looking for 1,000 years. I feel like he'd be interested.
Right. But I mean, in the chapter, he just decides to open that book and read through what he and Tyndall worked on. Like, it just seems super convenient plot-wise.
Well, but I mean, the dog's been here for a while, so he could have finished this at any time during like however many days that Tenzun's hanging out and had the same situation. So then Say's sort of like, why, God, whose existence I doubt, Why do you leave me without hope? Like I was always the one who like had faith, and now I'm the one who can't.
Take them, Lord. Don't take me.
Save me, Jeebus. And then we hear Breeze outside talking to Tenzin. My dear doggy, surely you'll stay another day. And she's
I'm
Breeze.
surprised Tenzin's putting up with that.
Right?
He's probably like, they're my mistress's friends. What am I going to do?
That's true. You got to give him some slack, I guess. And Sazed is kind of thinking about like Kelsier and Vin, and the lesson Vin basically learned in the first book was like it's better to trust and possibly be betrayed, which Kelsier and Vin both kind of learned. That was the whole like theme in the first book. So it's interesting that Sazed kind of revisits that lesson here. And Tenzin says, "Farewell, Soother. Give my regards to the announcer." And that's where it's like, wait, what?
You have to imagine he's just sitting outside, just like making it super obvious, like, give my regards to the announcer. Wink.
Right. He's like, I've been waiting days for this guy to give a shit.
Breeze is like, did you just wink at me?
Weird dog, but okay.
No, that wasn't me. That was no. I had something in my eye.
And they start talking about this term, and Sazed shows Breeze the book that Ruin changed. And Breeze is like, oh, looks like you got the wrong term, my dear doggy. Like, he just really loves calling him my dear dog. It's so strange. It's such a weird thing.
You feel like he's been waiting his whole life to say this for some reason.
Right?
He's like, now, like, the opportunity has presented itself. He's like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm capitalizing on this. Turns out Breeze just really wanted a dog all these years.
And then he's like, how do you know? Like, this ancient terrorist prophecy. And Tenzin's like, you know what? Isn't it weird that no one ever thought about what happened to the other guys who were traveling with Rashek and Alendi up to the Well of Ascension? And Breeze is like, oh, come on. Everybody knows that he turned his friends into the first nobleman.
I like how at this point Tenzin's done being coy. He's just like, hey, did you ever think about this? Yeah, this is what happened.
He's
honestly,
like, humans are all so dumb. Have you not realized?
Well, his choice of words is like, there's a problem no one has thought to point out. I'm like, is that Brandon taking a dig at the readers?
And so, no, I mean, I don't know if we had actually talked about this before. Like, what happened to the other guys who went up to the well?
I think we just said, we bought into the story that they were the first Alamancers. The Lord Ruler raised them up and just didn't think much more about it.
Yeah, and I think if we had addressed specifically the fact that they would have had ferrochemy, I might have just said, well, he used the power to get rid of their ferrochemy and give them just allomancy, which I don't know that he could have done, but whatever.
And so Sazed is like, oh, yeah, no, of course this makes sense. Like, he couldn't have made them allomancers. He would have had to, he wanted to get rid of ferrochemy, so he would have had to, like, sequester them, maybe even kill them. And Tenzin's like, no, you think he's a monster. He wasn't that bad a guy. He didn't kill his friends.
Enslaved people for 1,000 years and made sure they were treated like shit? Yes, he did that. But kill his friends? Nah, man. It's like, he ain't that bad.
Yeah, well, you know. Everybody has their line. But no, he says he spoke directly into their minds while he was holding the power and offered them a bargain. Immortality in exchange for giving up their ferrochemy. And so it's and it says the father transformed every living ferrochemist into a mistwraith, beginning that race. So they didn't exist before that. And he invented mistwraiths. But his friends, once he turned them into mistwraiths, he gave them some hemalurgic spikes to give them their brains back. So wasn't that nice? And there's actually somebody asked Brandon once, like, what about Quan, who I'm sure you guys remember from the previous book, since we read so much of the stuff that he wrote. So Quan, we know that Quan was like had metal minds. He talked about that. So he was a ferrochemist. While the Lord Ruler was holding the power, he spoke to the minds of his friends, and he included Quan in the conversation. He's like offered them this deal, immortality in exchange for becoming mistwraiths, basically. And his friends all agreed. Quan did not. He refused to give up his powers in exchange for this. So the Lord Ruler turned every living ferrochemist into a mistwraith, except for Quan, who he later hunted down and killed.
Oh, brutal.
Yeah. So
also kind of a dick move on Quan's part, because Rashek has done exactly what Quan wanted him to do. Like, right? He took out Alendi. He took the power out of the well and didn't return it, which is exactly what because Quan knew about Ruin and didn't want Ruin released. So, yeah, Rashek has done exactly what Quan wanted him to do. And then Quan said, "What the hell's wrong with you, nephew?" And it's like, all right, you know what? Fuck you, uncle.
Well, I mean, you know, there's a whole thing about, like, we're going to... Because they're having to make the decision for all living feruchemists. And all the other feruchemists don't get their brains back. They get to be mist wraiths, like mindless creatures forever, which is kind of harsh. But I guess as opposed to being killed, there's a difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The Kandra became a species that could breed true after that. So, like, the later generations of Kandra are, like, the children of the mist wraiths who were originally Terrasmen, I guess. But there's also there's annotation that I was going to touch on here. So what actually happened was after he turned his friends into Kandra, the first Allomancers were foreign kings. Rashek knew that he could conquer the world if he needed to, but he also knew it would be a lot easier to rule the conquered if he had allies and kingdoms who joined him voluntarily and not out of fear. So he offered allomancy to royal families who would give their allegiance to him. Once he showed off his own power as a Mistborn, he got several important monarchs to throw their weight behind him, and they got to become the first Allomancers. So there's what actually happened with the beads and where the first Allomancers and nobles came from. Okay, back to the chapter. Sorry, let's see. And so yeah, Sazed realized that there is a record of the Terrace faith somewhere, not written down where Ruin could have changed it, but from people who are actually alive and practicing the Terrace faith 1,000 years ago. He's like, I gotta find this. And Tensoon's like, okay, come on. I was ready to leave without you since everyone said that you stopped caring. But if you want to come, then I will take you there. It's on my way anyway. And maybe you can convince the first generation that the end is actually here because they won't listen to me. Which, yeah, it didn't work out so well when he tried to talk them into it. I don't know the Sazed can be that much more successful, but, you know, it can't work out worse for him, I guess. We would hope.
Worth a try.
Okay, so the next epigraph. Ruin tried to get spikes into other members of the crew, but it wasn't really as easy as you might think. You got to stick it in just the right place at just the right time. He tried to get Ellen and Yomen. Ellen managed to avoid it. Ruin did get Yomen one time, but Yomen removed the spike. So, I mean, you made a good point. Maybe he wasn't using, maybe he used a crazy guy to try to spike Yomen instead of an Inquisitor, but if he just had an Inquisitor go up, he probably could have been like, hey, the Lord Ruler just put this spike in you. And Yomen's like, all right, dude, cool.
Yeah.
They did say something about it was like someone who's so logical and thought out, it's harder to control them. I just sort of assumed that was why it didn't work. He was like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, he did have the ability to think for himself and be like, wait, why would the Lord Ruler want me to do that? But he's also a strong believer in the Lord Ruler's religion.
Yeah.
Who knows? I guess they didn't try that. And so Vin's sitting in like her cell just talking to Ruin. He's like, so why did you pick me? Why, like, all this stuff? And he doesn't seem to answer that part, actually. And he's like, man, I wish you could see it, Vin. The ash is so beautiful. Everything's black, and as if the sky itself has shattered, raining down shards of its corpse in flakes of black. He paints such an amazing picture. And I like that he's like, yeah, the Lord Ruler actually is responsible for a lot of this himself, so you can blame him if you want, if it makes you feel better. Ruin's a jerk. Lord Ruler didn't really save the world. He just postponed its destruction. And in doing so, helped me. That's the way it always is, as I told you. Everybody helps me. And he makes a good point that twisting men to become Koloss and Kandra and Inquisitors, Lord Ruler did all that on his own, which he kind of did. We know that Ruin whispered some hemalurgy stuff in his brain while he had the power, but still. I like that she's like, but you didn't like him. He wouldn't free you. And Ruin's like, yeah, but 1,000 years isn't so long. And I can't refuse to help him. I help everyone. My power is a tool, the only tool by which things can change. Well, I guess it as opposed to preservation, if you only have two powers, then yeah, that's kind of true. Preservation can't change things. And so Vin finally realizes, like, I have to do something. I can't just keep sitting here because the world's going to end while I'm in a freaking cell. So, guards, tell Yomen I want to deal. And when she shows up, Yomen's like, the guard said you have information, and she says yes, and he's like, yeah, I told them to bring you to me if they even suspected a trick, and apparently they don't believe that you want to deal. I wonder why. Yeah, okay, that's fair. She did beat them last time and try to escape.
I was about to jump in on Ruin's little stepping through the wall thing, but
oh yeah, Ruin trailed through the wall. Stepping with
just
an
like-
idle, unconcerned gait. That's a good line.
It's like, hey, what you guys talking about?
Let's get out of here.
You guys talking about me?
But yeah, Yeoman's like, so how does Ellen control the Koloss if you're really going to tell me stuff? It's like, Almancy. And she just explains how they control the Koloss. You got to use a metal that enhances your power.
I was going to say, yeah, she just straight up says, oh, by the way, there's this Duralumin stuff you can use. And it's like, whoa, you're laying all the cards out.
Yep.
Of
course, if he really doesn't have a Mistborn, it doesn't help.
I mean, true, but it's like, I don't know if she's even told the rest of the crew that at this point. I know that Ellen knows it. I know Tansoon knows it. But like maybe Says, but what about the rest of them? Do they know?
That's a good question. I mean, once again, it doesn't really help or hurt if you don't have a Mistborn, but they're also they're used to keeping secrets. So I don't know. She didn't tell them about the Kandra.
Yeah, because I mean, there were a few times in the last book where she used Duralumin in plain view of them, like when she rescued Breeze, and they're all just like, what the fuck? How is she doing that?
Yeah. It was one of the things that was making Ham uncomfortable, because he's like, she can do things that you shouldn't be able to do.
If only someone asked the question.
Yeah, communication really seems to be these people's weak point.
And I like Yeoman's like, so yeah, that's interesting, but completely unprovable. So she's like, okay, I'll try something else. There are 5 storage caches. He's like, okay, and why would I care? He's like, well, come on, the Lord Ruler planned those caverns, and you're interested in his whole plan, right? So this is exactly up your alley, dude. And I like, he's like, your Ellen is a man who thinks too highly of himself. He's read many books and assumes that learning makes him capable of being a king. Yeah, okay, whatever.
As always, Yeoman is like on point with some of his remarks. He's like what? Like, you expect me to believe that you care about the Lord Ruler's stuff? And Vin's like, okay, yeah, you got me there.
She's like, I couldn't care less, but you care, and also I care about the people of the Empire. So she's like, look, we discovered the caches, and all of them led us to you. So the Lord Ruler who made the caches wanted to lead us here to you. You were looking for his plan, right? See, here we go. And she gets him to tell her that the ash is getting worse. And there's an interesting, it's like, no, the Lord Ruler won't let us all die. And Vin's like, but what if he really is dead? And Yeoman says, then you have doomed us all. Which goes right back to what the Lord Ruler says as she killed him. She's like, no, you've doomed yourselves. You have no idea what I did for you. What I do for you.
Once again, communication could have solved that.
Yeah. And so she marks off where all of the caches are. And Yeoman's like, well, this seems completely random. And she's like, I'm not making this up. Your spies can confirm it. And he's like, hey, look, not all of us have the resources for extensive spy networks, okay? Like, she just assumes that this guy's king. He must have spies like we do. Apparently not. She's like, wait, okay, so the one we found before this one and Urto are both like mining towns. Maybe, do you guys have a map of mineral deposits? He's like, well, yeah, we are the Canton of Resource. That's kind of our bag. And so it's like, he built each of the caches near storages of metal. And she feels like it must be a pattern. And he's like, you're just messing with me at this point. Like, this isn't even... And she starts to think about Quan and words in metal being safe. Did he mean safe from being changed? That's what we've thought. But did he also mean safe from being read? What if Ruin couldn't find the caches on his own because he can't read with all the metal around? So he needed someone else to visit the caches and lead him on to... Oh, crap. He made me do that. Oh, Vin. She realizes that he's right. It's like everything she's done has been helping him. Isn't that unfortunate?
And he's just standing in the corner being a smug asshole and applauding as she figures all this out.
It's so funny because she looks over and he's just standing there like, yeah, just, his knowing eyes, his fatherly tone, and his deific arrogance. But this is where she figures out that maybe she can trick him now that she's figured out this much. And she also realizes that maybe there's something else that hasn't been entirely her idea. It's like, why have I been so interested in finding the Adium? When Ellen and Yeoman are both right, it doesn't really matter. And it's like, Ruin's been manipulating me this whole time. Ruin is the one that wants the Adium. No wonder he was so smug before. No wonder he assumes that he's won.
Marijuana? But why? Yeah. This is interesting.
there's one bit that applies to this chapter in the annotations that I was going to hit, but it says, ruin and preservation were human. Ruin was human once. Vin implies it, and I'll just come out and say it. Ruin and preservation were both people, unconnected to the powers they eventually took upon themselves. I can't say any more than that at this point. So there's a fun little...
I think we sort of knew that
Yeah.
from when preservation died, and there was the annotations, the epigraph straight after that talked about how if if Elend had looked, he would have seen like a average body with black hair and a slightly bigger nose or something. And it's like, well, that's a very human description. So these guys were people? Because I mean, if one was, you have to assume the other one was too.
Right.
So
That's why I was okay with reading that, because I think we kind of made that connection already.
yeah, we pretty well figured that out.
Not to mention Ruin is looking for his body.
It's
Apparently.
true.
Well, yeah, but like it could have been any kind of body. We didn't know. He could be a dinosaur.
Yep, we're still going for dinosaur. That's what I'm going
True.
Or
Reptar, gotta find that Reptar. Sorry.
Or, he could have been a tentacle monster, because we still haven't seen one of those yet.
for. That's true. True. Could be a Cthulhu.
It's like when she released Ruin, she actually released the Kraken.
Yeah. There's another note in here that I was going to touch on, because it says, and it is about the Adium. Ta-da! The Adium drove the plot in book 1. It drove the second book as the armies were hoping to claim the stash. It would have been a disappointment for readers, I think, to have that mythical Adium supply end up being useless. Yeoman's right. It no longer matters monetarily. Cities aren't selling food to one another in the face of the destruction that's coming. But there are other reasons, as you'll see, that the Adium is an important part of all this. So we got Marsh walks in, and Yeoman's like, "Oh, my lord, you finally come. I've been sending messengers." He's been looking for some Inquisitors, but they've all been pretty far away, I guess.
Yeoman was like us in book 2, just going, "Where are the Inquisitors? Where are the Inquisitors?"
Right? We really haven't seen that much of them in this book either, so...
No.
Mainly Marsh.
We got that one guy at the start of the book who tried to spike Elend, and then he kind of got blasted.
Crushed. Yeah. So Marsh alerts them to the fact that they are about to be attacked, because as we recall, Elend was going to have the army attack. And Yeoman's like, "What? They haven't even broken camp." And that was Elend's whole plan. He's like, "We're just going to have the Koloss attack before we do anything, so they won't realize until it's too late." And so that's what Marsh tells him. He's like, "The Koloss they don't need to form up. They will just run and attack you. So quickly, Obligator, I did not come to protect your foolish little city. I've come for the thing you discovered in the cache, the Adium. It cannot be in the city when the attack comes." And Yeoman's like, "What? I mean, you can have anything I have. That's fine. But there wasn't any Adium in that storage cache. Just the 7 beads I had gathered myself and held as a reserve here." And Finn's like, "Wait, what?" And Marsh is very angry. "You told the girl earlier that you had it." And he's like, "Well, yeah, that was... she was convinced I had Adium, so I let her think she was right." And then there's a scream that's so loud it makes Vin jump, but nobody else notices. And she realizes, oh, right, okay, Ruin is over in the corner, and he's very mad now.
Like, Yeoman's one little lie to Vin actually fucked up Ruin more than anything Vin did.
Right?
Yeah, Yeoman, he's just like, "It's called strategy? I don't know. I thought maybe you'd heard of it."
Like, why does it bother you guys so much?
And Yeoman's like, "But why do you care? Like, it's not worth anything." And Marsh is like, "You know nothing, but you're doomed. Yes, doomed indeed."
Doomed!
And Ruin is over here like, "Ha ha ha, your Elend is going to kill everyone. He's a great servant of mine, one of my finest. You should be proud." And Yeoman's trying to argue with Marsh, like, "You have to help us." And Marsh's like, "Why? You didn't get me what I wanted." He's like, "But the Lord Ruler," and Marsh's like, "The Lord Ruler's dead. He was an unprofitable servant as well." Which, yeah, maybe that should tell you something, Yeoman. These comments, I'm just saying.
I really wanted Marsh to say, "Why? I don't even like you."
You smell funny.
That's just mean, man. So Vin's like, "Come on, we can do something. Yeoman, you can fight him with me. We'll take this guy down, this Inquisitor. He clearly doesn't even like you. He wants you to die. Join our side." And I like Marsh says, "Idealism from you, Vin?" And she's like, "What are you talking about? You think it's idealistic? I believe I can kill an Inquisitor. I've killed several, FYI." Oh, but he's talking about the fact that she says Elend's not really going to attack. And they have a thing about it. He's like, look at all the stuff you've done. Why would Elend not do the same? And she's like, Ellen's not going to attack because he's a better person than me. Which, honestly, when I read this, I don't think I bought that because we'd just seen Ellen talk himself into attacking. But it turns out she's right.
Yeah, I thought for sure Vin was going to feel some disappointment there.
Vin knew Ellen better than us. It's fine.
Yeah.
They are married, after all.
Also, throughout this conversation between Vin and Marsh, Yomen is just looking at them just like, you guys have some history, apparently.
Right.
Can you leave me out of it?
It's like, do you guys want to talk and should I go? Or
do you need the room?
Oh, man. And the funny thing is, you know that Marsh can probably see, like, the ruined body also. So it's like they could be having a three-way conversation, 1/3 of which Yomen can't hear.
Yomen goes down for a drink afterwards, and it's like, my lord, what happened up there? And he's like, the Empress and the Inquisitor were yelling at each other, and then occasionally the girl would yell at this blank stretch of wall, which the Inquisitor really seemed to find funny for some reason.
Oh, man. I guess technically Marsh is talking with Ruin's voice at this point, so Ruin Ghost doesn't need to also talk, I suppose.
Yeah, true.
Okay, the next epigraph is, one might notice that Ruin did not send Inquisitors to Fadrex until after Yomen had confirmed, apparently, that the Adium was there. Why not send him earlier? Where were his minions this whole time? You gotta realize that, in Ruin's mind, all men were his minions. He didn't send an Inquisitor because they were busy. Instead, he sent someone who, in his mind, was exactly the same as an Inquisitor. So he tried to spike Yomen, failed. So maybe that's really what it was. He didn't have time, because it says he tried to spike Yomen, failed, and by that time Ellen's army had showed up.
Oh, come on.
So,
he has Inquisitors. He can try harder.
He had just like a convenient crazy guy try to spike him, and then when it didn't work out, he's like, oh, well, Vin's there, so it's fine. I don't need to worry about it.
For some reason, every time you talk about the crazy guy trying to get to Yomen, my mind just goes, Hoyd?
Ooh, it could be. He's been in both cities.
Yeah.
And Vin got a weird feeling about him.
I have nothing to base that on. I was just like, Hoyd? Why not Hoyd? Let's bring him back.
The only other guy we know in the city, other than Slow Swift, I guess. But he didn't commit too many resources to the city because he feared a deception on the Lord Ruler's part. Like him, I wonder if the caches were in part intended for just that purpose, to distract Ruin and keep him occupied. That would be funny if the Lord Ruler's like, I'm going to figure out how to lead him on a wild goose chase at the end, just to stick it to him one last time.
But also, like, because this is the epigraph writer in the future who's making this note, this kind of just tells us straight up, well, these caches aren't worth jack. Because if this guy in the future is just like, yeah, I think that's all they were for, then they're clearly not very important.
He didn't say the whole reason.
Okay.
And then we go back to Spook. And Spook, it says, that's why you absolutely must get the message sent, Spook. The pieces of this thing are all spinning about, cast to the wind. You have a clue that no one else does. Send it flying for me. Good lad, you did well, Spook. I'm proud. And he tries to nod, but everything's getting fuzzy. And then he starts to wake up. He's like, I was dreaming. Why was I asleep? Am I on watch? Should I go on watch? It takes a minute to realize what's going on.
Well, he mentions the shop, and so, like, wow, have you really just regressed back to book one, where they were hanging out in clubs, this shop?
Yeah, that's when he went on watch all
that's
the
weird.
time. I guess that's probably where he spent the majority of his life, is working with clubs. So maybe that's just...
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, the way it sounds to me, maybe it was like he had a dream about his uncle telling him something.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would make sense. Like, he says, I'm proud of you, and then all of a sudden he thinks he's like back in the shop, supposed to go on watch.
I thought, actually, yeah, that would make sense.
I mean, that could work. I also thought it could be Kelsier voice, given his recent history of, like, hearing Kelsier through Ruin. And then there was that weird little bit where he was like, I'm not good enough, and he hears Kelsier's voice say, I named you. Isn't that enough? Like, you're my friend.
Right.
And it's like, well, that seems a bit more specific. So I think, I feel like this might be Kelsier, but, like, it still fits, like, because Kelsier was only around while they were in the shop, so...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, either one of those works.
Wouldn't you freak out, though, if you'd been seeing Kelsier, as, like, Ruin, and then all of a sudden Kelsier's telling you that I'm proud of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like,
he was kind of on fire.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's been through a lot. Like, I get that, but it would be like
Yeah.
Kelsier's voice at all.
Yeah. I mean, he's been through a lot, but he's still the worst. So.
Well, and yet he even traumatized, burnt alive, and everything else. And when he wakes up, he still just takes the opportunity to take a pot shot at Breeze.
Right? It's like he sees a face above him, and one quite a bit uglier than the face he'd hoped to see. Like, oh, come on. Yeah, and it's Breeze. Breeze and Beldry are there as he wakes up. And he sees Beldry. He's like, that's the one. That's the one I wanted. Okay.
We're all good. We're all good.
And he's like, why can't I move? Your body's being held by casts and bandages. The burns, they aren't that bad, but okay, whatever somebody's like, they're not that bad. They're probably pretty bad.
It's not, I mean, could be worse. I don't know. What do you think, Breeze? He looks terrible.
He looks like Two-Face, but all over. So one face.
One face. Two body.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, but it's red spook.
And he's like, where's Sazed? Sazed is gone, dude. He went south with Vin's Condra. And then Captain Gordell, our good buddy, shows up. He's like, ha, survivor of the flames. Awesome. And Spook's like, hey, what about the city? Is it safe? And they're like, yeah, mostly. We saved it okay. But the ash is falling worse, isn't it? And they're like, oh, yeah. Lots of refugees, some from as far as Luthadel, so it's bad. He's like, I got to send a message to Vin. Okay, yeah, whatever. We'll do that when you're better. Like, no, this is important. Something was controlling me and the citizen. And so he knows. It's the thing that Vin released from the Well of Ascension. We had no idea if he'd put that together, but he did. So that's good.
Maybe that's something his dream told him.
Yeah, it could be. And he even knows that it's the thing that's bringing the ash down, which even Vin wouldn't have known until more recently. So
Well, it took Ellen talking to Preservation to figure that out.
Yep. Oh, I think Vin kind of had an idea before that. She suspected.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spook does seem to have gotten some information from somewhere here. And so he's like, I got to send a message to Vin, which that's why they sent me here after all, to find out stuff and report it back. So that kind of, and Breeze is like, okay, but traveling is not real easy because there's mountains of ash everywhere. And that's when Gordell jumps up. He's like, I'll do it. Vin saved my life that night. She could have killed me, but she took the time to tell me she understood and convinced me to switch sides. If she needs this information, I'll get it to her or die trying.
Good on you, Gordell.
Yeah, good guy, Gordell. And there's an annotation where he's like, where Brandon says, good old Gordell, or Richard Gordon, a good friend of mine and a fantasy fiction fan.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, so this became the series to work in cameos. I didn't put that many in Elantris, but I wanted a place for this guy. He's very similar to how Gordell acts in the book, a solid, good-natured guy, the type you want running your important message through a dying world in an attempt to save it. So, yep. But you don't have to worry. This is apparently the series where he got it all out. He's like, I'm going to stick all my friends in here.
Damn it, I had a theory about this guy, and now I'm not sure if it's accurate because I'm just like, is he going to do that to his friend? So,
shit. What was the theory? You got to tell us now.
I'll bring it up in predicaments.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll proceed as planned.
But Spook is like, okay, you have to bring me a sheet of metal and something to scratch into it. These words must be written in steel, and I cannot speak them aloud. So he has some information, and he seems to think that as long as he doesn't speak aloud, Ruin won't know what this says. So that goes back to our conversation earlier about whether or not Ruin can read words in metal. And that's kind of what Vin was thinking along the same lines in her chapters. So maybe the answer is no, Ruin can't read this stuff. And next epigraph. While the Lord Ruler held the power, he saw the power of Ferrochemy and feared it. Many of the Terrace people he knew would reject him as the hero, for he did not fit their prophecies. They would see him as a usurper who killed the actual hero that they sent, which, yep, that's what he was.
Yep.
It says he could have, I suppose, kept Allomancy a secret and used Ferrochemists as his primary warriors and assassins. But Ferrochemy is not as flashy as Allomancy, so without the drawback, it offered a mystical power that he could use to bribe kings to his side, which is what I told you guys earlier, that's how he used it.
Well, I just imagine all these kings were just like, I followed a Lendi, not you, dude. He was our ruler. And Rashek's like, yeah, but I can make you do this. And fucking shows off the Allomancy power. And they're just like, you present a good counter-argument, yes.
It's like, watch, I'll shoot coins at one of your servants and kill him. Don't you want to do that? Also, by extension, realize that I could do that to you as quickly as I did it to him. It's like, yes, compelling argument. You make a persuasive argument, Fry. Okay, so we cut to Elend, who's just kind of standing on a rock looking at the Koloss. And Ham's like, yep, no, the Koloss are going to not have a problem there. They'll just jump right up there. And Ham's like, or Elend's like, Ham, is this right? And Ham's like, I mean, it makes sense. But, and Ham does his thing where he's talking about both sides. He's like, but at the same time, like, loosing a group of Koloss on a city seems kind of immoral. What if you can't control them when they start to go crazy? Is saving Vin worth the possibility of killing even one innocent child? I don't know. And Elend's like, I shouldn't have asked Ham. Jeez. Ham never gets to, like, a straight answer.
Yeah, but his options were Ham or Set. And Set's going to be like, fuck yeah, attack, dude. Get on with it.
I want my city back. Give it. Gimme.
Yeah.
But then Ham goes, no, we shouldn't attack. And Elend's like, wait, did you really just come to a conclusion, Ham? And Ham's like, yeah. Didn't offer any explanation or rationalization.
God damn.
And Elend thinks, he's like, what would Vin do? And then he's like, she wouldn't want me to do this.
Correct.
Which is exactly right. And so he's like, okay, we're going back. Tell the men to turn back. We're leaving. And Ham's like, what about Vin? And he's like, we'll figure out another way to get her back. We're not doing this. And Ham smiles and says Set's gonna be furious. And Elend goes, he's a paraplegic. What's he gonna do? Bite us? Come on, let's go.
I love that line. I'll bite your leg off.
It's hilarious and wrong, so wrong at the same time.
It's like you say that about any other character who has a disability, and that would be horrific. But because it's Set, everyone's just like, fuck yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Nobody likes Set. Set is such an asshole that it's okay. Oh, and during these annotations, I skipped most of it. Brand's been talking about how he's trying to space the climaxes out a little bit. Like, we had the climax in Urto, and then Sazed has kind of his personal climax where he reaches the end of his religions and kind of gets into this depression and discovers this new thing. And right now it says, and what is this? A climax for Ham? Hammond lovers, your faith has paid off. This is the best I could give him. But it seems to me like it works. All through the series, I have him question and debate and really come to conclusions, but here he gives Elend advice at exactly the right moment, and it's exactly the right advice. I don't mean to say that attacking the city was the wrong thing to do. It would have been the wrong thing for Elend to do. He's a protector, not a conqueror. Taking a city, even for its own good, would have destroyed him, as it violates his basic principles.
Fair enough.
And then he's like, not to say that there aren't some other stuff happening in this chapter, because, as we discover, Ruin controls the Koloss and always has. Every time Vin and company took control of them, it was because Ruin allowed it. Didn't always like losing Inquisitors in these fights, and sometimes would have preferred they went differently. But when it came down to either having the Koloss under his control or having them under Vin and Elend's, he chose the latter, because it set him up for a time like this, when he could turn his own army against them. So yeah, he kind of...
Return of the Jedi moment. It's like the Emperor just going, oh yeah, this happened because I wanted it to happen.
Oh yeah, that does make sense. For some reason, when you said Return of the Jedi, I was thinking like when Luke slips R2-D2 into Jabba's retinue so that he can throw him the lightsaber at just the right moment.
I mean, that's also fitting, I guess.
I don't know why. That's first, your part made way more sense, but that was where my mind went. But yeah, it's like basically Ruin gave himself some double agents for just right when he needed them. So we cut back to Vin and Yomen, and somebody's like, they're pulling back, my lord. And Vin's like, ha ha ha. I was right. Ruin was wrong. Suck it. Suck on that, or whatever it was. The anachronistic phrasing that we found out. Then Ruin's like, huh, well, that's weird. And Vin's like, you don't get it, do you? You don't think that we realized all along that you were after the Adium? That you were following us from cavern to cavern, pushing on my emotions, getting me? Koloss always started going towards the city only after we found it. So it was clear that you, and not too fast enough for us to get there first. So it was clear what was going on all along. We played you. You never knew when we actually found the Adium. Metal is your power, used to make Inquisitors, but it's like light to you, blinding, so you never saw when we discovered the Adium.
Pretty bold assumption to make and then run with it. I mean, I realize she's out of time and this is literally the last card she's got to play, but gosh, you'd really hope you were right.
When she's saying it's like blinding to him, is she implying that like the blue lines and stuff, or like the brief bit of Inquisitor vision we saw in book 1, it's like around metal, that's what Ruin sees cranked up to 11. It's just like blue lines, blue stuff everywhere, and you just can't actually see anything through the haze of it.
I don't know. That's a good question, actually. I guess when she said it, in my mind, it was always like when there's a piece of metal, it's like glowing white hot with power, and when everything else around it is normal. But that's not necessarily, that's just the way I pictured it.
Okay.
I don't know. But so Ruin buys the bluff, like bites hard, because Marsh runs across the room and grabs her. He's like, "Where is it? Swear to me."
Where's the trigger?
I think more of the cockroach guy from Men in Black 2, where he's like, he opens that diamond thing and they're not in there, and the galaxy's not in there. He's like, "Oh, where is her?" Great Vincent D'Onofrio film, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that is him in this film. Sorry. Nah, I can't think of Vincent. Is that how you say it? D'Onofrio?
Yeah.
It's spelled like D'Onofrio or whatever, right? But he's just Kingpin in my brain now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, he was Criminal Intent guy to me. But, but yeah, he's good.
But Ruin's like, "Oh, no, you're going to tell me where the adium is, child. Have I not explained this already? You can't fight me. Everything you do helps me. You think you're so smart, but you don't even know what that adium is."
See, this is the bit where Ruin's doing all the talking and Vin's responding. So Yeoman's like, what are you doing?
Because Marsh is just like grabbing her and shaking her while Ruin's talking, and she's talking back to Ruin. But she's like, "Yeoman, come on. Can you not see what's going on here?" And Ruin's like, do I really have to prove that you can't? Okay, fine. And Marsh is like, "Hey, Yeoman, order an assault." He's like, "Wait, what?" So yeah, I want you to tell your soldiers that they should attack Ellen Venture's army as it's leaving. And Yeoman's like, "Well, so you want us to leave our fortifications and charge the giant army of Koloss?" And Marsh is like, "Uh-huh. You got a problem with that?"
Did I stutter?
Oh, gosh. "Yeoman, come on." And Ruin's like, You see my power, how I manipulate even their faith." And Yeoman says, "Give the order. Have the men attack. The Lord Ruler will protect them." Do you not? Marsh said like 5 minutes ago, he told you to your face the Lord Ruler was dead. One of the Inquisitors, who's like the leaders of the church. Whatever.
Yeah. They're getting desperate.
We cut back to Ham and Ellen, and Ham's like, "I did not expect that." As the soldiers start to come out from behind to attack them. And Ham's like, "What on earth is he doing?" And Ellen says, "Retreat." He goes, "What?" "I said sound the retreat, abandon our position, get the soldiers back." Because something about this, it reminds Ellen of when he led his small group to attack the giant Koloss army, Vatition, whatever. And that worked in his favor. He's like, there's something weird happening here. We got to go. And Ham's just like, "This is the strangest damn retreat I've ever seen." Or whatever. And we cut back and Yeoman is crying because he fears that he's ordered his men to their deaths. And Vince still trying to talk him over, and he's like, no, this is a test. The Inquisitors are the Lord Ruler's most holy priests. I will do as they command, and the Lord Ruler will protect my men and this city.
Man, you're so stubborn. Oh my God. How much has to be laid before you realize? Ah.
Oh, man. Marsh did not seem to find Ellen's retreat amusing, and that was enough to make Vin smile. And Vin, he grabs Vin again, which is what Vin wants, because she's using some street thief skills that she learned as a kid to pick some pockets here. Or his sash, as it were. And Ruin's like, "Yeah, you think you've been playing me this whole time, but guess what? You're the one who's been played. The Koloss that you think serve you, yeah, that's my power." And Ellen loses control of the Koloss. Unfortunate. And so Ruin is going to play this by destroying Ellen's army with his own Koloss. And Yeoman's up here like, "Yes, you thank you. The Koloss have turned. You delivered up my people." And Vin knows that Ruin does not care about Yeoman or his city, but Ruin will gladly let Yomen help him kill Elend's people before turning on Yomen. And she tries to tell this to Yomen. She's like, he's going to come for you next. But Yomen doesn't want to hear that. He has faith in the Lord Ruler. And Ruin whispers that everything is in place. Where's the adium? It's the last piece. And finally, she manages to slip her little fingers into his sash and grab what she wanted, his vial of metals. Because as we know, Marsh has all the powers, which means he needs all the metals.
Yep.
Sleight of hand.
Wow. Spirit fingers. Wait, no, that's a different thing. And so Vin downs it, and she pulls out her earring and uses a duralumin-fueled push to send it like a bullet directly into Marsh's forehead and out the other side. And Marsh drops, which, yeah, you probably would.
So I think Jamie mentioned in an earlier episode when we were talking about if this really was a hemalurgic spike. I think, Jamie, you said you weren't sure how you would kill someone with an earring. There you go.
Yeah, you just push it through their head. Okay.
Yeah, it's,
makes sense.
Not a fun experience, probably.
Probably not, no.
And coincidentally, Ruin has disappeared in the chaos of the escape. He left.
Yes, left.
And she's like, come on, Yomen, bring your men back.
Oh, Vin, put it together, would you?
Even Spook figured this out.
It's true. But Yomen says, no, I will not lose faith. And then Vin does something a little bit shady. I mean, in the end, it's for the greater good. She's helping because it's true that Ruin was not going to let Yomen survive. But she's like, no, look, he's going to attack you too. And then she uses the 1,000 Koloss she still has to attack Yomen's lines.
Oh, no.
Look what they're doing.
Isn't that terrible?
And she points out to him, she's like, were you not paying any attention to what that Inquisitor just said? He said the Lord Ruler is dead just now. Which, yeah, come on. And Ruin manages to yank her Koloss away, but not before the damage is done. Yomen says retreat, and will order the men to allow Venture soldiers refuge inside as well. But then she's shocked as Marsh climbs back to his knees. But we know that based on some of the other stuff we've read, that he has ferrochemical healing, so he can heal even from that, apparently.
That's terrifying.
Yep. But Marsh makes an interesting point where he's like, look, even if Yomen turns against me, all I have to do is kill him, because he's made all of the people under him also believe in the Lord Ruler. So if he's gone, they'll follow me. And
she just goes, no, I'm the heir of the Lord Ruler, you dick. Don't take my stuff.
Don't touch my stuff. But she gets the idea. She's been able to use a Duralumin enhanced soothing to take control of Koloss and Kandra. Maybe it will work on Inquisitors. And she tries it, and it almost kind of works, but not quite. It's just, there's something there, and it's too strong. And then he reaches out and grabs her by the neck and starts getting like ferrochemical stronger, which you can tell because they bulk up when they're tapping strength. And she's like, oh crap, now I'm in trouble. And she probably would be dead here, except that the same thing happens that happened, what did she say, 5 years ago in the Lord Ruler's throne room? Many years ago is all it says.
It says many, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She calls upon the mists.
Yep, she draws on the mists again and uses them to fuel her allomancy.
She calls the name of the wind. Oh, wait.
The name of the mist.
Like the mists are like the sword of Gryffindor. It presents to those who need it.
Yeah, okay, I'm going with that. I like it.
Yeah. You broke my loot!
But she uses her mist-enhanced pushing to push on his emotions again, and she starts to get a sense of some stuff, of ruin inside his brain, and his love of destruction, Marsh's hatred of himself, and the hateful, destructive thing that hides behind the mask of civility. Ruin was not the same as the Mists, which she had become kind of not fond of the Mists this book, if you recall, but she thought that they didn't like her and she didn't like them. But this is her realization that Ruin, the thing she's fighting, is not the Mists. It's a different thing. And Marsh runs. And she's like, I drew on the mist again. How does this keep happening? I don't understand. I've tried a bunch of times. Why does it not only work like these 2 times?
They just really hate people getting strangled.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a personal thing. Preservation got strangled one time, and he wasn't a fan.
He was like, this isn't as kinky as I thought it was. It just hurts.
Oh.
That's why he and Ruin don't like each other. Oh, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
We're coming back to Elend, who is trying to fight off these Koloss and get his men retreating. And we find out that he has 10 coin shots in his army, which I don't think is a thing that we knew. And they're sitting here firing wave after wave of coins at the Koloss, like archers. But he also has archers.
We'd speculated several times. It's like, do they have any mistings in this army? They don't seem to bring it up that often. Yeah. So it was nice to get confirmation. Oh, yeah, we've actually got a few here. So.
And his main line of soldiers is supported by lurchers from behind, who pull on the Koloss weapons to throw them off balance. So he's kind of got some clever uses for some of this. His small number of allomancers. And then Set's there, drinking some water, and he's like, I never did like having those things in the army anyway. And he goes, at least we'll die in battle rather than of starvation. Thank you, Set. Very helpful. And then something flies through the air and lands right in the middle of the table, because why not? And Vin is like, Ellen, retreat into the city. Yomen will let you in. And he's like, Vin, what took you so long? I got delayed by an Inquisitor and a Dark God. Now hustle, and I'll distract the Koloss. Oh, Vin. I love her. She's the best.
I love their little dynamic. He's like, just drops in after being captured. And he's just like, oh, finally.
Yeah. Where have you been? Jeez.
It's about time.
And then she just gives back the Inquisitors, Dark Gods, same old stuff.
Yep. Just an average day.
You missed our date night and our board game night. Ham beat the pants off me in Settlers of Catan.
Settlers of Luthadel? No, that doesn't work.
Turns out you do not want to play the game of life with Set.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Set's
play
also
Set.
really good. Yeah, exactly. Set's also really good at Risk, so that sucked.
There is one bit in the annotations I was going to touch on for this part, where he talks about drawing on the mist. He's like, Vin does it for the second time here. I kind of wish I'd been able to make her do it in the second book somewhere, but I decided to back off on that plot in book 2. The thing is, Vin drawing on the mist feels kind of like a Deus Ex Machina, and I didn't want to make the entire series about that. It's a mystery to be explained, true, and it was worked in and part of the magic system from the beginning, but I can't deny that it feels like it comes out of nowhere. So that's why we didn't get that in book 2.
Yeah. So she didn't need it when she broke Ellen's half-brother's skull with her skull.
I think it would have been a bit much if it was in all 3 books too. You're like,
yeah, I agree.
He's going to draw on the mist again.
We're still not going to know why or how. But...
Like that once per episode thing. It's like, how did this happen?
Yeah. The next epigraph would be like, drawing on the mist. And I'll be like, gosh.
The next epigraph is, Inquisitors had little chance to resist Ruin because they had more spikes than any of his other hemalurgic creations. So there you go. There's our theory from however long ago that more spikes makes it harder to resist. Here it is.
There it be. More spike, more control.
It would have taken a man of supreme will to resist Ruin even slightly while bearing the spikes of an Inquisitor.
Foreshadowing.
Bum, bum, bum.
We already know that Marsh has been resisting in his mind, if nowhere else, a little bit. So I think that's just telling us Marsh is a cool dude.
Oh, but he's getting ready for something. Like his internal monologues makes it clear he's storing up his resistance or whatever for a certain moment. So sometime before the end of the book, that moment's going to come.
Yep. One would really hope. If Vin had just killed Marsh there, it would have felt really anticlimactic for his whole character in this book.
Oh, and
he's dead now. Okay.
When she did that, I did not believe for a second he was staying down. It's like, well, that's not going to stick.
Yeah, no. So then we cut to Sazed and Tensoon, and Sazed is like, oh my gosh, I've been kind of a jerk. Of all the times the world needed something to believe in, this is it, and I wasn't caring. I wasn't here to help people. And it kind of takes a minute to get around to the fact that he is riding on Tensoon, and Tensoon, he says he'd feared slowing Tensoon down, who obviously could travel more quickly as a wolfhound. Tensoon thought about that and then ordered a horse and a large hog brought. The hog to give him extra mass so that he could make a body around the horse, but like with enhanced muscles and weight. So it makes it like a big old Clydesdale, basically. That can run fast with this deep, deep ash.
It's like, holy shit, there's a lot more a Kandra can do with their ability than we realized.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, originally he was, way back when, he was very offended to be a dog, but then that sort of grew on him. When did this whole horse pig thing occur to him? It's like, has he just experimented with other bodies on the side? It's like, hey, being a dog wasn't so bad. What other animals can I do?
Right. It makes you wonder.
I guess it might be repulsive to him, but he's sort of come around and gone, well, that body really works for me. This is what I need now, and that body's going to do it for me. So
it's out of necessity.
Yeah.
He's just going to show up at the Battle of Fadrex. It's like, there's going to be like, wait, what is that thing attacking the Koloss? A fucking elephant plows in and starts talking. It's like, everyone get out of here.
Man, that would be the best. Like Tensun the war elephant. Oh, Kandra aren't allowed to kill people, though, so.
No, he's killing Koloss.
Yeah, maybe that's okay. I don't know.
An elephant who never forgets to kill.
I just got your dinosaur comic again. That's weird.
No, this is a different one because I was about to read out of the annotations. This section of the annotation is called Talking Horses That Talk About Their Feelings. So, a funny story about this chapter begins with me admitting that I did not come up with the Tensun digest a horse trick first. I tried writing this scene with Sazed clinging to Tensun's wolfhound back as they ran south. It was awkward to describe and even more awkward to imagine and did not work well. Eventually, while working on the solution to the problem of getting Sazed south, I realized that Tensun could just adjust another body and use that. Easy fix. And one that fits really well with the magic and the setting. This intersects with another story relating to my friend Nate, one of the guys in my writing group, who's a big fan of dinosaur comics, a webcomic that deals with philosophy or literary criticism often. Years ago, he brought a comic to the group where one of the characters in the comic strip complains about fantasy books and how they're all about talking horses that talk about their feelings. So all through writing book 2 of Mistborn, Nate took delight in the Vin/Tensun scenes as they were all about a talking dog who talks about his feelings and never let me live that down. So almost just for him, I had Tensun take on the body of a horse for a few chapters. At least he didn't end up saying that much about his feelings.
That's funny. It's like, I like the end of the comics. Like, would you rather battle Klingons or trolls? God.
Yeah, I dropped that comic into our chat so you guys could read about fantasies all about talking horses talking about their feelings. Boring feelings.
I mean, aside from Narnia, I don't remember any other books about talking horses. Has that T-Rex just been watching My Little Pony?
I'm trying to think of one now, too. Like, I've read other books with talking dogs, but I don't think I know any talking horses.
Yeah. Let's see. Talking horses in sci-fi.
No, in fantasy. That's why Dinosaur says sci-fi is better.
Fantasy books.
But the other day when I was looking through these annotations, I started reading some dinosaur comics, and that's when I dropped the other dinosaur comic into our chat because it was funny.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the spook rap because he's got the Sherlock Holmes rap. But so Sazed is riding this giant horse thing, and Tensun can just keep going. We know he has the blessing of potency that he got from Orsor, so apparently it lets him keep going for a long time.
Plus, he had a big meal. He's a growing boy. He ate his food.
Okay.
It's really too bad that, Spook didn't wake up first, because then Gordel could have come too. Now he's going to have to, walk it or something. Sucks for him.
Oh, Jamie, tell him what you thought about Tensun's voice.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but in the first chapter we read for this week, all of a sudden Tensun's voice is Nibbler from Futurama.
Yep, I could absolutely see that.
Yeah.
Because he's like a wolfhound or something, just like Nibbler was a pet, and you don't expect them to talk, and then they're both very smart. So it fits. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
We are created like Inquisitors or like Koloss.
Yeah.
However, we are more subtle creations than either of those.
And sometimes we make poopies.
Yeah.
So Tensun starts to explain, my people are created from Mistrace. The Lord Ruler turned Ferochemists into Mistrace. We talked about all this. And they began to breed true as a species. Add a blessing to a Mistrace, and they awaken and turn into a Kandra. So, yeah, I mean, Tensun was never a Terraceman. He was born 300 years after the Terraceman got turned into Mistrace, so he's a pure Mistrace. And he says, what's a blessing? They are 2 metal spikes. Were created like Inquisitors or Koloss. but we're more subtle, as Joe said.
No, Dak said that.
Oh, was it? Sorry, you guys. It was a voice, so I didn't.
Nibbler said it.
Yeah, Nibbler said it. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Frank Welker.
Yeah. Yep. Scooby-Doo. I mean, Freddy from Scooby-Doo.
Joining us on this episode is Frank Welker.
That would be great. I love Frank Welker.
Flock of geese.
That's like they talk about that like that's from one of the
Futurama commentaries.
Commentaries, yeah.
Yeah. He can do a whole flock of geese with his voice.
Just like God. You ask Frank for any animal and he's there, just instantly.
That's it. Because he does Nibbler's normal like chatterings, the really high pitched stuff as well, doesn't he?
Yep.
You know who's underrated? Dave Herman. That guy's great.
Yeah.
Sure, I agree. Let's see. So his blessing gives him strength. They're having a conversation. He's teaching Sazed a little bit about Khandra. There isn't much time left, and Sazed's like, yeah, I can see that. So what can I do? And Tensu says, this is the only time where we can succeed. We have to be ready to aid the hero when she comes. She will lead an army of Allomancers to the homeland, and there will save all of us, Khandra, Human, Koloss, and Inquisitors. Well, that's news. She's going to have an army of Allomancers that she leads to the homeland. All right. And he's like, you have to convince the Khandra of how dire the situation is. There's something they must be prepared to do, something difficult yet necessary, and they will resist. And Tensu's like, hey, do you know where we are? And so he's like, I don't know, dude. Everything's like, it's all ash. I have no idea where we are. Over there is where the terrorist people have set up their camp. And so he's like, wait, we're at the pits? He's like, yeah, we call it the homeland. They're not technically the pits. They're like adjacent.
It's pit adjacent.
Yeah.
When they sold us the land, they said, yeah, it's pit adjacent.
Like, wait, so does your homeland grow adium? He's like, grow it? No. That's what separates us from the pits. That's where those stuff is.
That's what separates us from the rest of you.
And so he's basically, you see that like depression, the low place in the ash, that's where you got to dig. So go in there. It'll be great.
Get on with it.
And so, yeah, he digs a little bit and finds a tunnel. And
hang on. You skipped the...
Yeah, he skipped the great part.
Says jumps off and is like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll take my pack. You got a bag here of dog bones and another bag of human bones. What's that about?
That's weird.
Probably a body. It's fine.
He's a Khandra. I guess I'm not going to ask.
Yeah.
Just normal Khandra stuff. Yeah.
You blobs really cracketh me up.
You never know when you might need to be a human for a little bit. It's fine.
It's like, he's not incorrect in that assumption, but there's something else about those bones he should probably know.
It's fine. Saze probably wouldn't care that much. It's not like it's real Kelsier.
Still Kelsier's bones.
Nobody like asked for them back or anything. The Khandra had them and they knew, so they were like, yeah, whatever. Who cares?
I guess that's true. The Khandra did bury them himself. Dude, what if there's bone allomancy? That'd be pretty sweet.
Ooh.
I don't know how that would work, but yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, shove bones through people.
That's okay.
Terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But so Saze gets in the tunnel, and somebody up ahead is like, "Wait, Khandra, who are you? Which bones do you wear? Who returns from contract?" And he's like, part of him is frightened, part of him is curious, because he knows a very important fact: Khandra aren't allowed to kill humans. So, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Put me in a box?
It's like Vin was sure Yomen wasn't gonna kill her, but as Yomen pointed out, that didn't mean she was safe.
Yep. It's Aladdin and the Return of Jafar all over again, where like, you'd be surprised what you can live through.
What are you gonna do? Hit me with that
fish.
You spray everyone who comes into your apartment with flame retardant chemicals. No wonder you're single.
No wonder you're single. Yep.
Oh
man, Alan Rickman, love that guy.
R.I.P.
Yeah. But I like Saze is like, you're gonna be surprised, I think. I'm not a Khandra. My name is Saze. I'm a keeper, and I gotta speak with the first generation. And there's like, what? He's like, you don't have to let me pass. I mean, I guess if you don't take me into the homeland, I'll just have to leave and tell everyone out there where it is. And so they're like, okay, come with us. And that's the end of the chapters.
Good end.
Sazed gets so, like, I don't know what the right word is. If it's sarcastic or, like, snarky.
He lawyers
It's great. It's reminiscent of old Sazed from, like, book 1, where he's, like...
Sassy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where he's sassy with Vin. Exactly. Good times, good times. Oh, so there's an interesting one more thing that I wanted to touch on from the annotations, because it says Kandra have spikes. You should be worrying here about the fact that Kandra have spikes. After all, just one chapter ago, Ruin took control of a pile of Koloss. I like it, he calls them a pile, and turned them against their allies. He's already done that with the Inquisitors, so only the Kandra are left. Ruin has generally ignored the Kandra. He doesn't see them as all that useful. They can't kill people, and they're too thoughtful and quiet to be destructive in the way he wants. He considers them much inferior to the Koloss and the Inquisitors, but that does not mean he is not aware of them. You are right to be worried.
The thought had crossed my mind.
So, yeah.
They did also make a point, Tensoon was saying, that, you know, they've got more independence of mind than the other two, so I assume that was also part of it as well. Like, it'd be harder for Ruin to control them because less spikes, more, and, you know, freer minds, that sort of thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
They're not impossible, but more difficult.
Okay, let us get into predicaments. Let's just do the same order. We can go Joe and Jamie and Dak.
Okay, so let's start to unpack here. Let's see. So we get Sazed, and we get Sazed finally sparking some hope here, and he's gonna go meet with the Kandra. I don't know what's gonna happen. Let's factor the Ruin stuff into it that Data just gave us. So when I'm thinking about it in that way, Ruin, maybe he's long playing the Kandra, like he's been long playing others, and when Sazed gets there, the younger Kandra are gonna uprise and like try to take over the Kandra homeland and possibly do away with the first generation, because we know there's kind of been some trouble brewing with some of the younger generations that especially the ones that looked up to Tensoon. Also, we don't really know when Tensoon escaped. We don't really know what happened as far as Kandra. Like, were they on lockdown? Did they stop taking contracts? But I mean, we don't know. So what could that look like? Or if Ruin's just like imposing himself immediately into the situation, then once things start to develop with Sazed, it's possible that he's going to like influence the first generation to think a certain way or say certain things or do certain things. And maybe he already had been influencing them. I don't know. But I just don't see that going super swimmingly for Sazed. But who knows? Maybe it will work out. I just see a lot of issues there, especially now that we're getting the information. It's like, yeah, you should be worried that the Kandra, they're hemalurgical beings. Because that is worrisome. So we got that. There's a couple key things, I feel like, with the homeland in general. Okay, so the pits of Hathson right next door. Could the Kandra have lots of adium? He said they don't grow it, but they could have it. And maybe
like they slipped over there and grabbed some when nobody was looking.
Sure. Or the Lord Ruler was a smart guy. He was a stockpiler. Maybe that was part of the contract he had with him. Like, hey, grab this adium and stockpile it. Maybe the adium wasn't getting to where it was supposed to go. Maybe they were taking it. So that's a thought, especially he asked, because I feel like even though Tensoon is forthright, sometimes I also feel like he only answers questions specifically the way they're asked. So he's like, oh, do you guys grow adium? And he's like, no, I don't grow it here. But, we're right next door. So maybe there is adium here. Because obviously we now know that Ruin knows there's a stockpile of adium somewhere, or at least he thinks there is, and he wants it bad.
Yep, he really wants that stuff.
Yeah, which leads me into my next theory. I'm kind of puzzle piecing this together here with the pieces that I have. So we know that from previous chapters that what's his name, Ruin, he has a body and he wants it, and then he wants this adium real bad. So, and then another thing that made me think of this is that the Kandra themselves make bodies for themselves out of like crystal and stone. Is the adium Ruin's body? If he wants it real bad and he wants the adium real bad, is the metal itself somehow his body?
Okay. I mean, yeah, we did talk about the possibility that it doesn't necessarily have to be like a human body that is the body he's looking for.
Right.
And he does want these two things. He wants his body, he wants the adium. So I guess that makes sense, yeah.
You
So
did say, like, you don't know what it is.
right.
So,
You don't know what it is.
That was weird. That was a really weird way to say that, or
Yeah.
a weird thing to say. So yeah, okay.
And we also know that preservation has some kind of metal that allows people to have elements, like elementic powers, or at least he created some kind of metal that does that. And also it's like the adium is not like any other metal we read about in the book. It doesn't just exist in his mind. It grew back.
Yeah.
That's
weird.
really weird. Like how does a metal grow back into geodes? Like that's very strange.
It's almost like a pearl.
Yeah. So yeah, and they describe those as pearls. I feel like they describe the beads. They give the alchematic powers pearls as pearls. So it's just kind of and just based on him wanting both of those things so badly, it just kind of fits together for me. It's like, what? I mean, we know he wants his body. We know based on his reaction, he really wants that adium. And obviously, he doesn't need to see I guess he does need to see what his opponent's next move is, but it's not like consuming the like little bits of adium is really what he wants. If that's what he wanted, he would just take Yomen's adium, the few pearls that he had. But that's not what he wants. He wants the whole thing. So there's got to be something to the whole piece. Which again, I don't know how that works. Like if the pearl is the part that gives people powers, what is the stockpile? Why does he need a certain amount of it? That's the part that's confusing to me. Why does he need a certain amount of it in order to whatever he's going to do? I guess manifest himself. Because right now he can't. At least based on what we read, it doesn't seem like he could physically manifest himself outside of people that have been hemalurgically implanted. So he can't like make himself appear to people or physically manifest himself in any way. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, he definitely hasn't. So
right.
We don't know for sure he can't, but it kind of seems that way.
Yeah, it seems that way. And so, when you think about it, it makes sense. He's saying, I don't have my body. I want my body back. So that's my theory on adium and why we're in the homeland, and which says all kinds of weird things about how this stuff works. It's like, are they eating bits of ruin to know the future? I don't know. It's confusing.
Yeah, it's weird.
So there's that piece that takes us into the third chapter. I don't know what this message is that Spook got. If his uncle gave it to him in the dream, great. If Kelsier gave it to him, in his dream, I'm a little surprised that he's willing to take Kelsier's word for it. Of course, we obviously stepped into the end of a dream conversation, so who knows what was said before that? Because it's not on the page, so we don't know.
Could have been anything.
Right. So whether or not it's Kelsier or his uncle in the dream that told him whatever, it seems like he's got some knowledge that he believes is very true, even though at this point a lot of it seemed like speculation. So either he was given that knowledge in the dream, or his subconscious pieced it all together, or something. But he's got a message to give to Vin about hemalurgy. I'm assuming like about maybe how the spikes work and ruin and the spikes and all that. Also, and then going on to the next chapter, Vin didn't like grab her earring back that we saw. I don't think, right? Like it didn't say on page that she got her earring back.
I don't think it said, no.
Okay. So that'd be interesting to know if she'd find it or if she'd even put it back in. Maybe she'll get the message from Spook and not want to do that, if that's what the message says, which I'm thinking it might. And then I don't know what they're going to do, just hold up in Fadrex. I guess wait for Tensoon to arrive and then all head out to the homeland, I guess, since that's what they're supposed to do. So Tensoon arrives, they march to the homeland through the ash, riding, weird horse dog Tensoon thing. Horse pig dog. Dog horse pig. Dog pig horse. I like that one better.
Man bear pig.
Yep.
Man bear pig, sure. And so yeah, there's a battle. Surely a battle's coming. Surely. I feel like we're getting there. I'm trying to think if I've left anything out that I was thinking of. Oh, I mean, again, it's like anytime I predict something, it just raises another question. It's like, if somehow the Adium is his body, then what is Preservation's body? And they had man bodies at some point, right? Because that's what we're getting at here. So did they both turn into a metal? Did they? I don't know. Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Okay. That works.
Okay, so I've only got a couple of things today, but I was sort of thinking that the Adium stockpile maybe is the true bodies of the first generation. Maybe it's a stockpile they've actually had for a really long time. So, because we haven't really seen them yet, so maybe that will be a thing. Also, if Ruin can't see all of that metal, maybe that's part of why the homeland is so safe as well. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what Sazed finds when he actually manages to talk to the first generation. I think Vin is now out of trouble. I was very worried for her for a few episodes there, so I think I was wrong with that. I think Vin back with the crew makes a lot of sense. I think that Gorodel will probably make it to Fadrex to pass on the message. I think it's going to look pretty neat. Everything's going to fall into place. But then I think they're not going to make it, especially now that Sazed is underground and the Kandra can survive. If there's sort of ultimate destruction up top, they seem to be pretty safe down there and happy to ignore what's going on. So I think, Sazed is going to be one of our survivors, but for the rest of the crew, I don't feel very optimistic for the outcome of the book. So still a bit of a downer on that one, I guess.
Okay. That's sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem less likely Vin is going to be executed now. She's kind of made friends with Yomen, I guess. So that's good. But yeah, I know that's still sad. The world is still ending. So
I just don't think they've got enough time to pull everything off to save everything. I think there will be probably some little wins along the way. They will get all the answers maybe not all the answers, but a lot of the answers that they've been looking for. Will be able to put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together. But I think ultimately we're not going to succeed in saving the world.
We still have no idea how to even go about saving the world. So yeah, it's.
Yeah.
And we have 21% of the book left, so we're at 79%. So yeah, I guess that's still a fifth of it. That's not nothing, but.
No, we do tend to get a lot of information and a lot of stuff happen in very rapid succession based on the last two books, fairly close to the end. So, I mean, it could still swing. I think that there's still a lot of information for us to learn. And, I mean, these chapters in themselves, we learned a lot of new information that we just hadn't either pieced together or hadn't been given before. So that could still change things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel like a lot of the storylines are going to start to wrap up now. And, we're not only wrapping up a book, we're wrapping up a trilogy. So
Yep.
That's all. We're definitely at Sanderlanche territory, I reckon.
Yep. That sounds about right. This should be interesting. We should not have a boring episode between now and the end. We have 3 episodes left after this one, so.
Ooh.
Not that we've had a lot of boring sections so far. I don't feel like, not this book anyway.
No, the pace definitely picked up since the second book.
Yeah.
I am definitely enjoying the read more. Not that the second book was bad. There was too much politics, I think, for me, and I think for most of us. But yeah, this book has sort of kept you on your toes a little bit more, which I like.
I agree.
So I mentioned earlier I had sort of a theory about Gorodel, which I may as well just bring up to start with. So I think he's spiked, or he's going to be spiked.
Oh, no.
And so I think, his presence is going to cause problems. He's going to go find Vin, and things are going to go downhill. I think the message that Spook is trying to give is about the earring, but I don't know. Who knows what the voices in his head told him.
Yeah.
So I think Gorodel will run into Vin at the pits, because I think that's where she's going to go next. So bear with me, I've got a bit of a lengthy one here.
Oh.
So I think that Tensoon's prophecy is that she will lead the Allomancers to the homeland. I think that's going to happen. I think that the last little dot on the map that Brandon said Vin couldn't read, that's going to come up with Yomen and his maps that Vin have been looking at. They're going to look at that dot and just realize, that's the pits of Hathsin. Why is that place so important? So I think Vin's going to head back there, and Tensoon's prophecy comes true. I believe that is where Ruin's body is.
Okay.
I think that's where it's being hid, in among all the metals, so that Ruin couldn't find it. I don't know if the body is at him, like Joe has said. The thought has crossed my mind, or it might just be a human body, or whatever. I think that's where the body is, and I think the Kandra are guarding it with all the adium they've taken from contracts over the years, or alternatively stolen from the pits next door, like Joe said. So I believe, there's some little Kandra cult down there who are spending the atium or using the atium in some way to keep Ruin's body hidden from him. So, yeah, and I don't know, maybe the body's presence is something about its power or whatever, or just the ambient energy it gives off. That's what also causes the atium geodes to grow in the pits, maybe? I don't know. And, yeah, so when she does come back with an army of Allomancers to save everyone, humans, Koloss, Kandra, that will be the final battle with Ruin to prevent him from getting his body back and getting his true power or getting control or whatever. So I think that's going to be the climax of the book, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I had two theories about Ruin's body. That's the big one, and the one I think is accurate. The other little one that I thought of was that Ruin only ever seems to show up as other people. He appears to Vin as Reen, he appeared to both Quellion and Spook as Kelsier. Even after it twigs to Vin, that it is actually Ruin, he keeps appearing as Reen. And I'm wondering if that's because he can't remember what he actually looked like, what his original body was.
Oh.
And so, and that sort of made me think, well, it's possible that his body might not be in the pits. It's actually somewhere else in plain sight, and Ruin himself might accidentally destroy it without realizing what he's done.
Oh, that's hilarious. I like that.
I thought that could be cool. I think the other one with it being in the pits is probably more accurate, but I thought it would be kind of funny if it turned out, oh no, actually you just destroyed your own body, and he's like, no, and then he dies.
Nice. I like that, actually. That's fun.
Yeah. So that's what I got.
Okay. So he's at Dax pulling out some more of the swinging for the fences ones, because we learned that those are the ones that you end up being right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I said ages ago I need to swing for the fences more often, and I didn't really do that. So listeners, bringing back the fences, bringing back the volcanoes.
Ruin's
also,
body is a volcano. So.
Yeah. While I was putting all that together, I just had the weird thought. It's kind of funny that the terrace people have settled at the pits, which is right next door to the Kandra, considering that the Kandra used to be terracemen.
Right? Just it's a weird coincidence.
Because Sazed just walks in and just goes, you people used to be terracemen. This is your homeland, therefore it is also mine now. I live here now.
Yep. Your stuff is my stuff. I want that. That's a cool chair. Gimme. Okay. Let's hit on. We have 2 emails and 2 reviews that we're going to touch on. Let's do the emails first, I guess. So we got one from Sasha. And Sasha has... I was reading ahead a bit to see where you guys might be in real time. And I guess you're right up about to the Kandra creation story. Yep, good call. Now that everyone's caught up about to be caught up as to where spiky creatures come from 101, I'd be interested to hear which hemalurgic origin, do you think is the most horrible? So, the Kandra Mistrace story seems to be the least awful of the lot until you think about it. Rashek turned every living ferrochemist into nearly mindless-eating carrion blob monsters. He told his best buds, hey, I'm a blobify you too, no hard feelings, you're just too dangerous. But if you're willing to work with me, I'll come back in a few with some murder spikes and turn you into sapient carrion-eating blob monsters. And she says, the awfulness of where the Koloss come from, we've covered that. No need to say more. The Inquisitors, they obviously at least didn't all volunteer, but every Inquisitor until Marsh was presumably a devout follower of the Lord Ruler and would have considered it an honor. They sort of wanted that, maybe. So more than the guy being turned into a Koloss anyway. So look in, ranking the unremitting horrors of hemalurgic creation. Dub con transformation is about as quote unquote good as you're going to get. So she wants to know where you rank these three. Which ones are from most horrible to least horrible transformation?
I'm gonna go Koloss is the worst, Inquisitor next, and then Kandra is the least bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably would have put Inquisitor first because I think they're fairly conscious of what's happening, which would just be really traumatic.
Yeah.
Koloss, I mean, I feel like if they were humans and like they just know that they're dying or something like that, maybe that's, I don't know, would that be less mentally taxing or something? I'm not really sure. And then Kandra the least too, but I guess it depends on how conscious they were and how much they knew of what was actually happening. You know, if you were to become a blob monster, you were told you were becoming a blob monster, and all of a sudden you're a blob and you didn't know anymore. I feel like it's probably less traumatic, but they're all pretty horrifying in their own way.
I mean, like, yeah, they're all horrifying. Like, do we need to rank like which is worse? Seems like they're all bad.
Yeah, I don't want to be any of these things really.
No. Yeah, I think I rank it that way because it seems like, and I'm not saying this is good from the outside perspective, it seems like the Koloss are the ones that long for what they were the most. The Inquisitors, the stuff that Ruin does inside them changes their like desires and wants and needs. And whereas like we said, like with the Mistwraiths, the first generation are the only ones that really remember what they were before.
Yeah.
So the majority of Kandra that were born from them don't know, or if they know, I really don't think they would know, although Tensoon seems to know. So I guess maybe it is common knowledge. But it seems like they are very kind of happy to do their contract duty that the Lord Ruler set down. So they feel like they actually have a place in the society. So I don't know. I think that's why I find it probably the least horrifying, because I'm trying to think of it from each individual's perspectives. It's like if I'm evil and my desires have now changed to evil desires from an outside force, I don't know that I'm going to be. I think we're seeing an unbelievably unprecedented thing in Marsh where he is like aware of what is going on and he's upset by it. I don't feel like, of course, we don't get inside the other Inquisitors' heads, but I feel like he's probably got a stronger will than the other ones, and maybe that's why he's so kind of disgusted with himself. But then at the same time, you hear from his perspective, Marsh felt happy, or he knew it was beautiful, or he loved it, or whatever. So it's even changing him. So I think that's why I ranked it that way.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm more with Dak, where I'm just like, they're all bad. I do not want.
Oh yeah, I mean, bad is bad. I don't want to be any of them, except, if I could be a blob monster that's not a blob, if I could be normal but then like shapeshift, that would be sweet.
I mean, yeah, they could be normal most of the time as long as they have bones, if they feel like it, I guess. Presumably they make pretty believable humans, since they can pass for them really well.
I don't remember if this is in the manga, but in the original Full Metal Alchemist anime, it's like one of the homunculuses, or one of the 7 deadly sins, Envy. It's like Envy doesn't remember what they originally looked like. Because they've been shape-shifting for so long. It's like that would
kind of suck, yeah.
It's like I don't remember what I originally looked like. He just picked a form for walking around in because they couldn't remember what he looked like.
Brutal.
Yeah. Okay. Our other email, when we get that, is from Dean, and Dean says, "Hey guys, I wanted to say how much I enjoy listening to your weekly podcast. You're all hilarious, witty, and have many thought-provoking conversations regarding characters and plot. I love it. I've decided to write you after listening to your latest episode because I believe I was the one on Reddit who acknowledged the length of the podcast if you plan to read only 2 chapters a week." And this would have been back around episode 3 where we were reading 2 chapters an episode. That's true. That's how we started, was 2 chapters at a time.
Oh, the old days.
Yeah. I had never been a podcast person, as I always felt like it was an odd way of consuming media, but I came across the Reddit post of a new Mistborn podcast while I was reading it, which is pretty impressive since I burned through the trilogy in a week. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll give it a try. Since then, I've been listening to many other Cosmere and the like podcasts, and I only have you guys to thank for that. So we turned Dean on to podcasts. Good on you. I hope you're enjoying them.
Wow.
I listen. I don't commit to a lot of them. There's a few podcasts that I have to really like them to want to listen every week, basically. So not that many make the cut for me.
I feel the same way. I think I have like six of them that I solidly listen to, and the other ones I don't really give much time to.
Dean says, things are a bit harrowing in Israel right now, without getting political, so it's nice to have an hour and a half of your joking around this week to take my mind off of current events. Shalom, and keep up the good work. So thanks, Dean. Things are not at the best ever in Israel right now, so stay safe, and thank you guys for your emails, Sasha, Dean. If anyone else wants to send us emails, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the places. We also have 2 new reviews this week on Apple Podcasts in the US. We'll hit those real quick. The first one is from Tom Jim 04. Sanderson Cosmere Weekly Virtual Book Club, 5 stars. A fantastic weekly series where a group of friends methodically go through Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series with plans to continue through the various book series in the Cosmere in bite-sized chunks. Only one of the hosts, Data, has read the series previously, so this podcast can serve any listener, whether they are longtime fans or first-time readers who want to give the series a try. Data does a fine job of moderating the discussion and stoking the flames of speculation on theorizing from his co-hosts, all while dropping occasional Easter eggs or trivia about the greater Cosmere without straying into spoilers. A fantastic listen and a great start to my Monday mornings. Thanks, Tom Jim.
Hey, that was a great review. Sir, you see right through us. You're a seer.
Ooh, Adium misting, because we established the existence of Adium mistings this time.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
How would you call it gold misting?
Gold misting. There is an official name for that. Hold on,
yeah.
Yes.
I think we talked about this.
I think we did, but I don't know if we came to a conclusion.
A gold misting is known as an augur.
Ooh.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, I think we did talk about that.
We talked about the potential existence of gold mistings and what it would be called. And now that there's that, we know that there are Adium mistings. We know that it's not restricted to just the 8 mistings. So it would be pretty obvious that there would be gold mistings, which is why I went ahead and told even though we haven't seen one yet, to confirm that they exist.
Plus, then you assume there's also got to be mistings for Electrum and whatever the other one is.
Aluminum and Duralumin. Although both of those would be very boring to be mistings for.
Yep. It's like, aluminum, I don't have any aluminic metals in me.
Yeah.
It's like, how would you even figure that out?
Right? I guess you could still burn it, so you'd know that. But no, that would suck.
With the burn. When duralumin would be burned, you just like burn it real quick, and then you'd be like,
I guess,
that was it.
I can enhance nothing.
It's like, oh man, I got something come out of my fingertips. I think my nails grew a little bit.
0 times a million is still 0.
Yep. That is essentially what that is. Yes, it's like multiplying by 0. Okay, other review. Another 5 stars. This one is from Ranksk, Rangsk. Ranksk. Quickly became my favorite podcast. The premise of this podcast is amazing, but it's the execution that keeps me coming back for more. This format is equally great, both for the big Sanderson fans who want to relive their first read-through, as well as people who are new to the Cosmere and want to get into it. And that's that one. I should point out that the previous one said lots of nice things about me personally, so...
so we know he was
lying. The best one.
That's good. Good.
No, we know he
Hey,
wrote
man.
It.
Ranks, since we've been talking about it, buddy, you're an augur. Go for it.
Ooh.
Nice.
So I feel like that would not be a fun misting to be. I mean, it's better than like aluminum or duralumin, but it's not fun.
No. I didn't say it was fun. I said that's what he is.
He's in the misting crew. That's what matters.
That's right.
It's like, I think Yomen said at one point, it's like bronze, the most useless of allomantic metals. Oh boy.
Yeah, he had no idea what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, for next time, we are reading 6 chapters.
Jesus Christ.
And actually, for the next 2 episodes in a row, we will be doing 6 chapters. Which gives, so, just fun facts. 6, and then for the final episode, 4 episodes, or 4 chapters and an epilogue. So, That is how close we are to the end, people.
Wow.
So those 6 chapters, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72. So if you're following along, those are the 6 chapters to read, and we will be talking about those next time. Music by Miracle of Sound, and wuzzing to the time of next, everyone.
As the towers of steel and stone crumble to dust, the foundations of our hope begin to rust. Choking fear, screaming sound, as a reaper comes to ground. You turn to face it down because you must. And when the world starts to burn, at the point of no return, keep a hold of your conviction, tear out the affliction, transform